Hey guys, it's Jeremy Felt from Harvest Realty. Today's video, we are looking at the inspection. So again, one of the biggest items of purchasing a home is the inspection. Getting through that, everyone, both sides, kind of take a deep breath and feel really good. Again, financing, appraisal, and inspection, those are really the three biggest, not the only three, but three of the biggest hurdles. If we can get through, then we're on our way to closing on the property. So the inspection, and we always hear about this. Where is it outlined in the contract? So it's in item numbers 28 through 33. Those are the different sections that they're referenced. Water rights, mineral rights, those are maybe things that will be involved with the property. We want to know what those are and have a chance to review those water or mineral rights. But today we're looking at primarily the inspection. So in section 10, it's outlined, as we'll look at here in a second, what exactly is the inspection. So an inspection is someone going in, looking at the home, testing everything, turning on all the appliances, the heating, the cooling, making sure that everything works to the best of their ability, and then giving a report on that. Now, it's important to remember that inspectors are not experts in everything. They're not roofers, electricians, plumbers, engineers, biologists who can tell you if something's black mold or, they're not an environmental assessment and things like that. But they are going to be able to point you in the right direction. So sometimes you may have to have an inspector go out. Then you may have to have a plumber, an HVAC person, and a roofer. It feels very time consuming and costly, but in the grand scheme of things, it's very, very vital that you go through everything that you possibly can. It's not always just the condition of the home. A lot of times it's safety of the people that are going to be living in that home as well. So it's not something that you ever want to skimp on or just assume that it's probably good. So again, in section 10, we're going to outline how long do we have to get an inspection. So it's something that buyers and sellers need to agree to, and we need to understand what exactly does that mean? How long do we want to give them to either object or terminate because of the inspection? Now, if you have 10 days to get an inspection, that doesn't mean you need to get it on that 10th day. I would get it as soon as possible. One of the first things you do when you go under contract, get the contract to the title company so they can get working. If you're getting a loan, get the contract to the lender so they can get going, and then get your inspection ordered. Again, a good inspector might have a lot of business. They might be able to squeeze you in a couple days, or they may be a week out. Your realtor and who you're working with should be able to recommend at least 3 good inspectors that they recommend, that they've worked with personally, that can give you the best route. But there is no such thing as a licensed inspector in Colorado. So sometimes people will have, maybe a knowledgeable friend or family member come out and take a look. You can do that. I would recommend going with someone that it's what they do professionally. It's what they do for a living. That's all they do all day, every day, because they're going to know what pictures they need to take. They know how to type up the report. I've had an inspector who claimed he was the handiest man in the world and he was the discount inspector, and we're halfway through and he's like, do you want me to write any of this down? Do you want me to take any pictures? And I looked at him shocked, like, yes, we need a report. What are you talking about? And it was bizarre. So I would go with someone, even if it's $400 or $500, it's money well spent. So in the contract, we want to figure out, hey, when can we terminate? When can we object? When is the resolution deadline? I would recommend putting the termination and objection deadline on the same day. The reason is, if it's the inspection's just so bad that we just want out as buyers, let's just terminate. Okay, let's not even object. We want to terminate. Even if they were willing to do a lot of the repairs, it's too much. We want out. So you can just terminate. Or you can object. We're going to object to these 10 different items, and we're going to send that over. And then once that is sent, then you either need to come up with a resolution by whatever day. I would recommend giving at least a couple days, because you're going to get the inspection. Probably the next day, get the report. Then you need to review it. Then you need to come up with the objection or termination. But if you object, you want to have time to get that over to the other side so they can review it and look it over and decide what they're willing to do. If you make it all land on the same day, it's going to be really tight and difficult to do. So you object, hey, we want these 10 items done. Now, as a seller, you can agree to do all 10. You can agree to do half. You can agree to do one. You can say, we're not doing anything. It's really an internal negotiation at that point. But in order for the deal to not terminate, there needs to be either a resolution in place that's executed by both sides, or that original inspection objection needs to be waived by the buyer. So this is the conversation I have with people a lot. They say, oh, well, let's ask. Sometimes they ask for thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work. And I say, you can ask for whatever you want. You can ask for it to be completely repainted, re-roofed, new flooring. You can ask for absolutely anything that you want. The thing to consider is a seller is how are they going to respond to this? Again, if I'm a seller, my home's in pretty good shape. I've kept up on it. There's no major issues. And someone comes in and they want $10,000, $20,000 worth of work, I'm probably going to get a little guarded off of that and say, are you kidding? I'm not going to do any of that. And then not be willing to do anything, is whereas you may have got some things taken care of. Now you've asked for the world and you made them mad, and they're not going to do absolutely anything. And then run into the situation, well, do we waive the inspection? Were we just bluffing? Do we still want to move forward? Now we were maybe going to get them to do a few things. Now they're not going to do anything. Do we waive the objection, or does the time run out and the deal terminate? So those are all the things you need to consider when you're moving forward. So again, that's the dates and deadlines. Here's how it's outlined in the contract. Again, the inspection, okay, you're going to get done. They don't claim to be HVAC professional, plumber, all of those things. That's outlining that. The termination deadline needs to be put into the contract. You can terminate on or before. You don't have to wait to the very last day. If you know you want out and you're going to terminate, you can terminate on or before that date at any point. You can object on or before that date, whatever you outlined in the inspection objection. That's why I like to make them the same day. So that way, because if there's an objection and no resolution, it terminates anyway. You don't need to say, well, what if we object and they don't agree to anything? We can't terminate. No, it's going to automatically terminate if there is no resolution. Another thing I highly recommend, because it doesn't just deal with the structure or kind of the visual appeal of the house, is a radon test. So radon, it's a gas that comes up from the ground. It's a carcinogen. I think they say it's equivalent to smoking 3 or 4 cigarettes a day. And it's very unhealthy for you. And if you obviously live in the house for an extended period of time and breathing in poisonous gas, it can be very dangerous. So this is something that I would recommend doing every time that you do a home. And the thing about radon is it's non-discriminatory. It's not saying, oh, well, this is a newer home and it's a well-built home, then there must not be any issues with radon. That's not how it works. It's not really the age of the home, the size of the home, where it's located. It just kind of depends on what's coming up from the ground and making its way into the house. So your inspector, whoever's doing the radon test, they'll put their device in place. They usually pick a bedroom. I think it has to be on the lowest part of the house, so first floor, through a tri-level, down low. And then it has to be, this is where it gets a little tricky. It can't be disturbed. So people can't move it back and forth. You can't be coming in and out of whatever bedroom it's in. You can't have a fan going or the swamp cooler or the air conditioning. It needs to be basically just isolated to that room. And I think to get a good reading, it needs to be 48 hours. So if it's a vacant home, that's usually not an issue. If people are still living in there and going in there, that's where you got to coordinate with everyone and make sure that you can get this test and that it will be an accurate reading. Because if it's incomplete, you're thinking, well, that doesn't really tell us anything. Were they, did they know there's radon and they're trying to hide it? Were they just coming in and out of the room? Why did we not get an accurate reading? And then you need to push out the deadline or figure out a way to get an accurate reading. So I would always recommend doing that. If there is radon, it doesn't mean the house needs to be condemned or anything like that, torn down. It just means we need to put a mitigation system in place. There's companies that can do that. I don't want to say it's cheap, but I think usually it's under $2,500, depending on the company, depending on the location, all of that. It could go up or down, but it's not like $50,000. It's in comparison to the purchase price, it's going to be very, very low. But again, is seller going to pay for it? Is buyer going to pay for it? How's that going to work out? Since it's for the safety of everyone involved, I would highly recommend doing that. So in summary, go with a professional. There is no licensed inspector, but go with someone who knows what they're doing. That's what they do for a living. They have good um, referrals and testimonials of people that have worked with them before. It's money well spent. It's going to tell you if the home is in good shape, and more importantly, is the home even safe to live in? If you're moving in, or you have other people that are going to be living with you, you want to safeguard their health and make sure that the home is going to be a good place to live. So, hope it was informative, you guys. Inspection is hugely important. I would even recommend, if it's a brand new home, I would still get an inspection, get a radon test, do all of those things. Even on a seller side, you can do some of these things before you even list a home. I'm going to list a home. I want to get ahead of some of the issues that I may have. So let's get a pre-inspection and see what are some potential issues with the house. So just some things to consider. Hope you guys have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.